Fantastic. So thank you ever so much, everybody, for coming back to this third webinar in this series for CO.AS.IT. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. In this particular webinar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some different tools which are particularly good for promoting speaking, as well as collaboration through interactive activities in the languages classroom, in the Italian classroom, in particular, in this particular context. You've got my contact details already, but if you haven't been to the other webinars before, I'm just at Joe Dale on Twitter, and my email address, as you can see on the screen, is joedale@talk21.com. So if there's anything you're not sure about anything that we're going to cover in the next hour, feel free to contact me, and I'm more than happy to help. And I'm not just saying that, it's a genuine offer, because I'd like to help people at this time, for sure. Okay, so let's crack on. So officially, I'd like to thank CO.AS.IT for inviting me to do these webinars. It's an absolute privilege. I have worked with CO.AS.IT before on a number of occasions face-to-face in Australia, and I was absolutely delighted when I had this opportunity to present some webinars for you and help you during this difficult time. And yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. So thank you ever so much to Ferdinando in particular for allowing these webinars to take place. Okay, so this is what we're going to try and cover in the next hour. So as you can see, we're going to be looking at Jamboard with some examples, lots of examples of how you can use them, ones that I put together myself in the last couple of weeks. Charlala, which we've not looked at before, which normally goes down very nicely around speaking and listening skills. We're then going to have a dive into Padlet and how that can be used particularly for speaking practice. And then we're going to finish off with QWIQR conversations, which I would imagine would be probably new to most people. And I'll show you how you can use that particular tool as a way of promoting speaking practice asynchronously in the classroom. So I think that in particular, the QWIQR conversation option really solves a problem in lots of ways around how do we practice speaking when we're all in our own houses, as it were. And well, I'll show you that one later on to finish with. I think that's a really nice solution to that particular issue. Okay. Right, so to start off with, we're going to have a look at Jamboard. So if you haven't seen Jamboard before, Jamboard is an interactive whiteboard. Again, a typical tool that people would want to have access to would be some sort of whiteboard. And there are different options for whiteboards. But I think Jamboard, if you're in a Google environment or you have a Gmail account, then it's a really, really nice solution. There are other solutions out there as well, which I will share with you around drawing ideas and how you can use different tools to have some sort of online whiteboard. But I think Jamboard is absolutely fantastic. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do to start off with today is I'm going to open up a Jamboard for you like this. And I'm going to share this with you right now. So if I click on the share option like this, and then I click copy link, and then I paste this in the chat for you, I will then say what it is that I would like you to do, if that's okay. So if you could all click on that link for me, please. While I'm doing that, I'm just making sure that everyone is muted. If your microphone is on, can you make sure it's turned off? I think they're all off now. That's great. Just so we don't get any funny sounds in the background or keyboards sounding or partners talking to each other or anything like that. That would be really helpful. So I can see that some of you have joined the session, which is lovely. And in this particular activity, what I would like you to do, please, is I would like you to say how you're feeling through the Jamboard. So there's different options. You can click on the add image option here, and you can go to where it says Google image search. Okay, and then if you do a search for example, happy, like this, then different images will come up. So for example, there's this image here, and I click select. Okay, and then suddenly my image goes straight into the Jamboard. Okay, so in other words, what I'd like you to do, and I can use a sticky note as well. I could click on this one, and I could say, how are you feeling about remote teaching languages? Okay, So you could add a sticky note if you wanted to, like that. You could add in a picture to represent how you're feeling. I can see someone's feeling very tired. So you can see this is designed to be anonymous. Because you're all signed in anonymously because of the way that I've shared the link with you, which I'll go through in a moment, then I can't see who's who's doing what. But you can also draw a picture if you want to. If you click here and you click, say, on here, you could then draw a picture. Oh, it's quite difficult to draw with a mouse, but you get the idea. So there we are. And Jamboard, I'm going to show you lots of other examples in a moment of how you can use it specifically in languages. But I think the idea of having a check-in session with your students at the start of the lesson, if you're doing synchronous teaching, of course, you could do this asynchronously as well. But if you're doing synchronous teaching, or certainly to begin with, to have some sort of like, right, to have some sort of live interaction with your students, I think is something which would be very much appreciated. And clearly you could be doing this in the target language if you wanted to. So you could, a student could post a picture and then you could then use the post-it note to put over your picture with your name, so it's clear who's done what, as it were. And then you can say, oh, that's interesting, Fernando. Tell me why you've done a picture of a sleeping cat, for example. I don't know if that's Fernando that's done that, but you get the idea. And I do hear you when you're saying that you're tired, and I'm not joking about that at all. It is a very tiring time for everyone, and I'm sure you're prepping a great deal around remote learning ideas, and hopefully these webinars will prove very fruitful. So I'll just give you a moment to do that, to draw. While we're waiting as well, sharing Jamboards is very, very straightforward. It comes as part of G Suite. Although you do have to ask your admin person. Someone's got a bit. Oh, if you did, hang on. Let me just. If someone does clear frame, that's fine. I can just click the undo button, or maybe not. Hang on. Could you just stop a second? I'll just click undo. Ah, you see, that is one of the issues around. I thought. Okay, never mind. So can you not click clear frame? Because obviously what's happened here is it's just removed everyone, which obviously is a good thing in the sense that if a child were to do this, then that's what can happen. What I would recommend with that in mind is, I'm just helping you to get rid of that as well. If you, actually, I'm delighted this has happened because it just shows what we could do. So yeah, if a child wants to be a pain and click click clear frame top left, then that's what can happen. You can suddenly delete everything. So what I would recommend is, can you see the 3 dots top right? If we click on that, you can see that one of the options is make a copy. So for this one, I haven't made a copy because I've just wanted to get up and running very quickly. But you can see it says make a copy. So it means that there's no problem about adding, about making a copy beforehand. And then if someone does do something like that, then it means that you can just quickly add in, bring back the original copy again. So it's not a problem. It's fine. There isn't a history with Jamboard as there are with other docs and slides and what have you. But never mind. That's fine. So I will just quickly draw a picture again of a smiley face just to show you. But I think this is a really nice way of checking in with everyone and show people how how they feel. Right, interesting. So Mary's saying you can't add a picture. It says error. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure. Could you clarify what the error message is saying? But one thing that I need to say as well, that even though Jamboard is part of G Suite, you have to ask your admin person to enable it for you in a school situation. It's not turned on by default, but I would really encourage you to ask your IT admin person to do that, because that means you'll have access to it. Otherwise, you could use it for your personal account, but I'm not recommending that in a school situation, obviously. So not only can you use this as a way of having your own board, but if you want to make it interactive, then you can do that as well. So in no time at all, we can get a really nice picture of how everyone is feeling. So, so to add content to the Jamboard, on the left-hand side, you've got a floating toolbar. So, for example, if you click on the pen tool, then it means that you can then add content that way. I'm actually going to join this session as well via my iPad, because the Jamboard app has a few other features to it, which I want to show you in a second. So there we are. So if I click on that now, there we are. See, again, I can see that someone has cleared the frame. So if I could ask you not to do that, that'd be, oh no, so you're on frame 2 even. I see. Right, let me go back to select. What's happened? Hang on. Oh, I see. Right, no, okay, you have cleared the board again. That's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second. And I'm going to share my screen again. But this time, I'm going to choose the iPhone iPad option, because I want to show you how I can share my iPad screen, because the iPad app has a few other things to it that I wanted to point out. So let me just do that for you now. 2 seconds. Oh, so screen mirroring, there we are. And in a moment, there we are. So you should, yeah, you should be able to see my iPad screen now. Is that right? Can you just let me know? Can you see my iPad screen? You should be able to.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, thank you. So with that in mind, you can see now there's a few other options. So for example, if I tap on the pen tool now on the iPad, you can see that I've got assistive drawing tools, which is only in the iPad version or the Android version, the app version. So I can see that some people have asked me some questions. I will answer those in a second, but I just want to show you some of these ideas. So for example, if I tap on the big A and the little a, I can write something like this. I can write hello. And what happens is it turns it, can you see, into text, which is very nice, I think. So I can write anything I want to, and it will turn it into text. It only works in English and Japanese, though, annoyingly, which I've checked about. But it's nice if you want to write text directly on the screen. Another option is the auto draw option, which is this one. If I tap on here and I draw a circle, for example, like that, it turns it into an actual circle, or a triangle, and it turns it into, oh, it should have done. Let's do that again. There we are. It turns it into an actual triangle. Can you see? If I tap on this one, this is another auto draw one. So if I, for example, draw a picture of a cat, this is supposed to be like that, then you can see that at the bottom of the screen, we've got different images which will come up. Yeah, and this is what's called using auto draw. So it means that, for example, I can tap on that one and suddenly I've got a picture of a cat instead. So you can use this as a way of layering up your picture with other items, not just having the classic tools in the web version. So I'll just stop showing my screen now, like that. And I'll go back to sharing with, let's go on to, here we are. Right, so now I can click on here and click share. Now I'm back on the web version. Okay, so I'll just have a look through the questions. Thank you for letting me know that you could see what I was doing. Okay, so yeah, so to add content to the Jamboard, you've got the different floating toolbar. You've got the pen tool, so you've only got 6 colors to choose from. You've got the pen icon, the marker, the highlighter, and the brush tool. You've got the eraser. You've also got the clear frame, which a few of you have used already, which I'm not recommending that you do, because obviously that gets rid of everything on the screen. You've got the select tool, which means I can then click on that and I can move objects around like this, make them bigger, make them smaller. I can also click here and I can move the orientation of the image. You've got the sticky note, so you can do this in a number of different colors. This one's quite nice, the transparent option, which makes it look like that. okay, which is nice. You've got the image option, so you can upload an image from your computer, or if you're using the mobile app, you can upload from the camera roll, or you can take a picture there and then. You can do a Google image search, which is incredibly powerful for the sort of mood board that we've just done. You can access from your Google Drive or from Google Photos. So lots of possibilities of adding content in that way. And then at the end, you've got this laser tool, which means that you can then do this sort of thing, and then it then disappears just as a sort of as a pointer on the screen. Okay, so that's how that works. I'm not sure why you're getting an error message, unless Mary, are you in a G Suite school? Because it might be that unless it's enabled in your school, it won't work until that is done. So I'm not sure why you're getting an error message, but that's the only reason why I can think that is happening. Oh, there we are. Okay, so you are in. Okay, that's lovely. Okay, so that's the issue. Yeah. So if you can't get access to someone's Jamboard, it could be your connection as well, possibly, but it could be around the fact that the IT person has to enable Jamboard. So what's nice about Jamboard is it is in the G Suite. So everything that you do as a jam, every jam that you make, will be automatically saved to your Google Drive, but you have to enable it first. So to on that point, if you go to the share option, top right, then if I were to click on change, then I could change this from, can you see it says anyone with the link? By default, it's you have restricted turned on. So in other words, the only person that can access the Jamboard is you in that situation, which is still fine if you're sharing your screen using whichever tool you're using, Google Meet or Zoom. You can still share your screen, but no one can collaborate on your Jamboard. But if you go to anyone with a link, then you can do that as long as you have given everyone edited rights. So here you can see the editor is turned on, which means that when I share the link in the chat, it means everyone can then contribute to the Jamboard. If I click on this now, I can change that from viewer if I want to make it read only, so people can see what's on the screen, but they can't edit on it. So hopefully that makes it clear on how that works. And then I just click done, and that's it. So that's a simple way of using it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and show you lots of examples of ways in which I think it would be really nice in languages. But is that clear with everyone? Can I just check before we go to do that everyone's clear on how Jamboard works? Just let me know in the chat, please. That'd be lovely.
Perfectly, thanks.
Yeah, is that okay? Lovely. Okay. Right. So let's go back to the presentation, which is here. And I'm now going to go through and show you some. Oh, this is the slide which I've got for you in relation to the iPad app, or the Android app. I think is the same. Works in the same way. So under the plus icon on bottom left of the screen, under your the Jamboard floating toolbar, you've got the options for adding sticky notes, adding images, adding content from Google Drive, taking a photo there and then, your image library, and adding stickers. So there's a few more features within with the iPad app. The stickers one is, I'm going to show you some examples of that in a moment, but that's how that works. Okay, so so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this first link, and I'm going to go through 40 ideas now with you on how you can use Jamboard in languages, which I put together for you in the last couple of weeks, and I've shared on Twitter and what have you. Okay. So the first idea, which we covered last time, I think, if I remember correctly, is with the idea of using Screencastify. So Screencastify is a really nice way of being able to record your screen. So I might as well just show you live right now. So if I just minimize everything like that, right? If I click on here, which is the Screencastify icon. So this is a Chrome extension which you need to install. I need to stop my video in Zoom, otherwise it won't work. And then I need to enable the microphone and the webcam. And now I can, if I click on show more options, you can see that the drawing tool is there automatically. And I can draw over my screen while recording my voice. So you can use this as a way of making a screencast of a Jamboard. So I could be drawing on the screen in my Jamboard while recording my voice and making it into a screencast to explain a grammar issue, for example. but you can only record for up to 5 minutes. But I think 5 minutes in the free version is plenty. And in any case, I wouldn't recommend a screencast longer than 5 minutes. I would recommend, let's say if you want to do a 10-minute or 15-minute screencast, I would split it into 2 or 3 sections, because the attention span of young people would probably mean that it would be better to do it in that way and make it nice and, you know, sort of small chunks, as it were. So if I just show you how this works, if I click record, there we are. We get a 3-second countdown. Here we go. So I'm recording right now. So I could, for example, click on here and click the red tool, and I could then be writing on the screen, or I could be drawing a picture. And if I was doing this, I probably would use the iPad app, because from the point of view that it's easier to draw in that way. But I could be clicking here. I could be adding a sticky note, and everything is being saved like this. Yep. So if I now press stop recording by clicking on the icon top left like this, and click stop like that, then as you can see, here we are. This is the recording. If I unmute this, you'll be able to hear it like this. And I could then be writing on the screen, or I could be drawing a picture. And if I was doing this, I probably would use the iPad app, because from the point of view that it's easier to draw in that way. But I could be clicking here. I could be adding a sticky note, and everything is being saved like this. Yep. So if I now press stop recording by clicking on the icon top left like this, and click stop, and there we are. Now if I click here, can you see it says copy shareable link? So if I click on copy shareable link like that, because what I've done is I've automatically made it so that whenever I create a video in Screencastify, it uploads to Google Drive automatically. So I can now click copy shareable link, and now if I go to the chat window, I can post this in here, and it means that you can then, oh, sorry, let me make sure I post it to everybody. It means that now everybody can click on that link and could then watch the video back. So in other words, you can use Screencastify as a way of making a little screen recording, which you can share with students via whichever platform you're using, Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or what have you. You can then post that link in there, or if you're leaving a comment on a Google Doc or a Google Slide presentation, you could make a screencast and then post the Screencastify link into a comment. Okay, I see that I've took a comment. I can see I've got a comment in the chat. So right, okay. So I've been asked about the video format of MP4 or WebM, I think it's called. So if you go to the download option, you can see here it says download. If I click on that, you can see that one of the options is export as MP4. So if you click on the export as MP4, that's how you make an MP4 file. If you just click on the download option, I think I'm right in saying it's WebM. Let me just click download and see what happens. Yeah, it's a WebM file, which you could open in VLC player, which is a free media player, VLC, and then convert it to MP4. But you actually have the MP4 option here, export as MP4. So if I click on that and click export, that then allows me to create an MP4 of the video that I've just done. So that would be the workflow that I would recommend. There we are. So then download MP4, click on that, and there it is. There's the MP4 file. Okay, so that's how that works. So I will now go back into my Jamboard, which is here, I think. Let me just check this one. Yep, there we are. So that's the first one, and I'm just going to clear what I've done on the screen like that, just so it's all nice and neat again. So I've made all of these view only, so you can't delete anything or edit anything on here. But you can access the links which I'm shared with you via the chat. Right, so that's that one. That's the first idea. And then the next one. So this is a website called XWords. So it allows you to create a crossword puzzle. So very simple to do. All you have to do is simply go to XWords. You then fill in the information. there's a German version and an English version. If you just write EN on the end of the link, as you've got there at the bottom there, then you get the crossword puzzle generator appearing. And then I've just done a simple example, admittedly in French, but obviously in Italian it would be very straightforward. You just put in the different clues, and then you generate the image, which you can then drop straight into Jamboard. So the idea here is the students would use the drawing tool in order to draw over the top of the Jamboard in order to solve the crossword. So in other words, using Jamboard as a nice little starter activity, I think that sort of interactive element is something which that could be missing in a remote teaching context. So I think Jamboard is perfect for that. I'd also recommend the fact that I wouldn't recommend, should I say, sorry, using post-it notes to put the letters in, which is originally when I did this, that's what I tried to do, but then you're just moving things around far too much on the screen. So, whereas if you've got this as your background image, the only thing that you're drawing, the only thing that you're interacting with is the drawing tool. Therefore, you're not constantly moving the background image, which is not what you want. Okay, so there we are, that's that one. You've also got the drag and drop option, which is very nice. So if you have the Bitmoji extension here, you could put in, for example, a made up, or not a made up, but a customized term. So if I put in CO.AS.IT, you can see that there we are, that's appeared like that. I can just drag and drop that onto the screen, and there it is, which is very, very nice indeed. To use the Bitmoji extension, you need to have the iOS or the Android app installed first, and you need to create an account. You then simply go to Bitmoji and the share extension, you just search for it on the Chrome Web Store and put it in here. And then that's how that works. And I realized recently through a Twitter conversation on how to change the language, which is very nice, which I'll show you right now. If I click on here and I go to where it says settings, and I click on advanced and languages, you can see here I've got the language here. If I click on that and I want to, for example, click on the 3 dots next to French and click display Google Chrome in this language. If I do that like that now, and I click relaunch, now, oh, let me just go back, sorry, let me just share my screen again. Like that. There we are. And then I go back to my Jam, which is this one. Like that. Oh, hang on. Shared window. Okay, let me just go back to it. Hang on. Let's just go back to here. There we are. There we are. Yep, that's fine. And then if I share my screen again, like this, share screen. There we are. You should now be able to see this. No, so now, because I've changed the language to French, if I click on here, then can you see underneath all of these, for example, this one, they're all in French now. So if they were, can you see? So if you were to do the same thing that I've just shown you, you could have all of these in Italian. Okay, which is very, very nice indeed. So not only can you have some of the expressions that would be typically in English, if you change the language, it will go into the language that you would like it to go into. Obviously, in your case, it would be Italian, but you can also write in customized terms in the Share extension, the Chrome extension as well. On the iPad, you have to change the language of the device, and it will do the same thing. This is how you do it in the web version. Okay, so I'll just get rid of those 2 items like that, and I'll just change the preferences back. As you can see, everything's in French now. So if I go back to paramètres, advanced languages, click on here, go to English, and click here. There we are, and then relaunch, which will take me out of here again. There we are. So I go back to Jamboard, which is here, like that. There we are, and then I share my screen again, like this, and There we are. Okay, so that's how you do it. So if you didn't know how to change the language for the Chrome extension, that's what you do. Let's carry on. Okay, so another idea is using breakout rooms, which I can't remember if we did before, but I think I'm just going to. This is how this works. Breakout rooms. I think what I'll do actually is I'll just take you into breakout rooms straight away, because I think that might be quite fun. If I click on breakout rooms now. And as we've got 46 people in the room, we will have 10 breakout rooms. I've gone for automatic, and I'm going to click create. So I'm going to click create rooms like this. And I'm going to click open all rooms. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes or so in order to have a quick chat about how you're doing remote teaching. So this is a really nice idea as well, to have a Jamboard, which I would then share with you in the breakout room. For you to then collaborate on at the same time. I'm not going to share the Jamboard with you now. I just want to have a quick chat about remote teaching and see how you get on. I can't remember if we did this before, but let's do it right now. Here we go. So you should have a message on your screen saying join the breakout room now. So if you're still in the main session, then obviously that won't work. I'm just going to pause the recording while I'm doing this, because it's only going to be recording me in the chat right now. So I click pause recording. Okay, so we're recording again, and now everyone will be back in the room. Okay, so that's lovely. So everyone should be back in the room now. If I could ask you to mute your microphones again, if that's okay. So yeah, so that's how that works. So Jamboard is a really, really nice way, I think, of being able to get everyone to interact with each other. I'll just put my video back on as well. And so by doing that, you're able to give an activity for them to do, as opposed to just simply having everybody talking with each other on the webcam, which is fine as well. But I think having them doing an activity within Jamboard is also very nice. So that's how that works. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This video here is by a gentleman called Russell Stannard, which I'll just put in the chat for you. If you do a search for his name, Russell Stannard, then he's done many, many different videos on YouTube around the use of technology and language learning. And he's done a whole series on Zoom. And he goes through in detail on how to enable breakout rooms. But essentially, in the meetings section, your settings on the browser, you go to where it says in meeting advanced. You select enable breakout rooms here by enabling these two buttons here. And then when you're actually in the breakout room, so when you're in the Zoom session, you get the breakout rooms option appearing at the bottom toolbar. You click on that, and then I would recommend assigning people to rooms automatically. Otherwise, it takes a lot longer to do it manually. So because we have 46 people in the room, that's why I chose 10 groups of 4 or 5 people. And then you just click create rooms, and away you go. That's how it works. So hopefully you found that useful, doing breakout rooms. And let's carry on. So another idea is you could use a website, photosforclass.com. Or you could just use the Google image search. But the nice thing about photosforclass.com is any image that you download, you'll have the attribution automatically added to the footer of the image. And then you could ask the students to then ask you questions about that picture, or make statements about that picture. You could get them to name each question as well if you wanted to. So just a quick and easy sort of starter activity. The photo card refers to the exam we have in England called the GCSE. And one of the activities they have to do is they're given a card, a picture, and they have to then describe it or ask questions around it. But it's a universally useful activity. So, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, if you could put friends together in breakout rooms, of course, but that could be a counterproductive thing as well if they just sit there chat and not get on with the work. But yeah, of course, Maria, that's fine. If you wanted to find out how to do breakout rooms in other platforms such as Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, in the very long document which I've shared with you already, which I'm just going to put in the chat for you again, if you go down to the section under Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, it goes through how to do this. There's a few links there for you to explore. or if you just do a search, do Control F to bring up the find option in the document, then you can then put in a search for breakout and it will come up as well. So the snipping tool is invaluable in Windows. There are various ways of doing taking screenshots of your screen. If you just do a search for screenshot on Mac or in Windows, it'll give you some advice. But the snipping tool is just a Windows tool. You just open it up, you click New, you then drag a frame over the bit you want to capture. It captures the image, and then that copies it to the clipboard. You can just paste it straight in, or you can click the saving option, save it to your desktop, and then just insert it in the way that I've shown you already on adding images. So snipping tool could be, for example, you take a snip of a PDF, which is a worksheet, and then you get the children to then interact with it dynamically in Jamboard. This is if you're using Google Classroom, this is a YouTube clip saying how you can assign a Jamboard to everyone in the class. You can automatically make a copy of a Jamboard, or you can add it into an assignment. That goes through on how to do that. So really, really nice, as long as it's enabled by the admin person. Okay, so here we've got an arrow here, which I've just created using the auto draw option, which I've shown you already. And then you've got the happy face and the smiley face. This is just like to gauge how people are feeling at the start of the session. So again, you just write your name in here, and then you put it along the timeline of the arrow. Okay, this is the one we've done already. So get people to check in by adding images onto the screen, showing how they're feeling. Quick one here, you could use a image directory such as flaticon.com, which is very nice for finding these sorts of black and white images. Or you could draw an image on the screen with the drawing tool and then get the children to label it. So again, you could do that as a simple pair work activity. The maximum number of frames you can have in a Jamboard is 20. So you could have, let's say, 2 students per frame doing this activity in a breakout room or otherwise. A grammar one. So I've made this background image, the sort of the little table there in Google Drawing, which is very simple to use. It's just go to Google Drawing. You can then create this sort of frame, download it as a PNG file and put it into Jamboard, or you could just draw it with a pen as well, but I like it looking nice and neat, and then have it as a sorting activity when you've got the subject, pronoun, auxiliary verb and past participle normally all mixed up, and then you get them to put it, drag it and drop it back into the right order as a starter activity, or they could work on it in pairs, etc. Okay, a mind map idea, so you could have a question such as what do you do at the weekend, and then give different examples, which could be text-based or they could be images, and then use this as a way of reinforcing a grammar point or as a way of remembering vocab around a certain theme. Again, a sorting activity, so you've got the line down the middle there. You could use this, for example, having a debate around healthy living. So you could have foodstuffs which are here, which are seen as being good for your health, and other ones here which are seen as bad for your health. And you just drag and drop the text or the image into the right box as a speaking activity. Here you could have a snipping tool or a screenshot of a text, and then ask some questions here as the teacher, and then the students then read the text and then answer using a different colored sticky note. You could have this one as a practicing a dialogue, so you could have different lines of a dialogue, which could all be messed up if you wanted, or you wanted the children to create it there and then. So just a simple line down the middle, and then put the dialogue into the correct order, or get them to reproduce a dialogue. And then again, you could use that as a way of then getting them to practice in breakout rooms and what have you. It's just reminding you of how you can make a copy of any Jamboard. You can export each frame as an image. You can download the whole thing as a PDF if you want to. Very, very useful to keep a backup at all times. Take a screenshot of a Google map and then do directions, which you could record in Screencastify if you wanted to. So you could be asking one student to start from the Place de Sydney, and then to go to the Eiffel Tower by going straight on, turn right again, and the Eiffel Tower is in front of you, which you would do in the target language, obviously. Simple matching activity. So I've just used colors here, but you could use any image from the Google image search and then just match them up together with the different sticky notes. This one is there's a what's called the Scrambleator, which I will put in the chat for you. The Scrambleator. Okay, and then you just put a term in the Scrambleator, a sentence, and it will reorder it for you automatically. There's also the reverse text generator, which does a similar thing with text. And then using that, you could then recreate a reordering activity with the images here as well. Okay. This is what's called a Trapdoor Activity, whereby the children choose one option from each column. And then by doing that, they can then make up their own sentence. Okay, so you could, for example, say, me gusta comer chocolate porque es delicioso, también me parece que es sano, no es sano, normalmente desayuno a las 7 or 6, for example. I know that's in Spanish, but I'm sure you can see exactly how that's put together. So again, you could use this as what's called a trapdoor activity, whereby one child has thought of a sentence in their head, and the other child then has to work out what the sentence is by guessing each option. And each time they make a mistake, then the child says, no, that's not right. And so by doing that, the other child can work out which is the correct set of options which go together. But it's a great way of practicing speaking. So by decoding, by working out what's right and what's wrong, the student can then work out what is the correct order, as it were. So that's that one. That's my first Jamboard. And then if I go back to here, and we go to here, and then click Present, and then I'll just quickly go through the second one. So as I said, I wanted to give you lots and lots of examples of how you can use Jamboard. Right. So then here, this is idea of the day, question of the day, I mean, sorry, put a statement in the middle of the screen and then get the pupils to answer it. Okay. Then we go on to the next one. This is using a website called remove.bg, which is very nice. And it allows you to remove the background from an image automatically. So that's what I've done here. And then I've just used the speech bubble option within the iOS app version, but you could just use, you could just draw a speech bubble and write in, or you could use another program like Book Creator or Google Slides in order to make your speech bubble. Very simple. There's an iOS app as well called Balloon Stickies Plus, which allows you to add speech bubbles very easily to images. So it's called Balloon Stickies Plus. Okay, and for Android, there's one called Pixay, which works in the same sort of way. Okay, so again, having you appearing as an image to give a lesson objective, that would be really nice. This one could be a register. So I'm just using the icons that you get with the iOS app. You could use this very nicely by getting everyone to sign in at the start. This is a nice emoji check-in. So again, similar to the arrow one I showed you earlier, you've got the emoji icons here. This is just a background image which I made in Google Drawing. And then here, these are all sticky notes which have got no background, which means you can then get the children to tell you you can ask the children to tell you how they're feeling by writing their name in the correct row. Battleships, so you assign a frame per child for this. So one child has the battleships on one page, one child has the battleships on the other page, and you give them the same box here, which I've just created in Google Docs, and then taken a screenshot of it using the Snipping Tool and put it in. So you can see here, we're practicing with the verb imi, plus different activities like sport and leisure activities. So the idea is that each child will say, for example, will put their battleships in the right, wherever they want on the screen. So there's a couple of examples there. And the other child then has to say the expression such as, j'aime aller au cinéma. And then as a result of that, you can then put a cross using the pen tool over the top of the battleship to show that you've then exploded the other person's battleship. And then you just carry on in the same way until all the battleships had been destroyed. So that's a nice activity, game activity you could do with Jamboard. Likewise, you could play Connect 4. you could then get the students to then just literally draw a red or a yellow, scribble in the circle with red or yellow to play Connect 4. So you get a point every time you make a row of 4. Noughts and crosses. I've actually used a website called emoji.co.uk here in order to find an image. Let me just show you that quickly. So it's emoji.co.uk, like this. You find an image that you want. So if I put, for example, in cross, like that, and do a search, here it is. I then click copy to clipboard, like that. I go back into Jamboard, which is here, and then I just simply do Control V, and it pastes it in like that. Yeah. And I just get rid of it. So that's a nice way of adding in images from emoji.co.uk straight into Jamboard. And again, I've taken the images just from the Google image search. So they can play noughts and crosses. This one's quite fun. I asked the MFL Twitterati, the group of language teachers, particularly in the UK, to add a Bitmoji to a collaborative Google slide presentation, which I put up, which you can find if you search for that on Twitter. And using Keynote, I made cards for everybody, so you could have a game of Guess Who by simply putting a cross through each person once you worked out who it isn't, as it were. So the idea of Guess Who is you have to work out. So you could say, for example, does he have blue eyes? And then you then cross all the people that don't have blue eyes. Does he have long hair? Cross all the people that not got long hair, etc. Okay. Telling the time. So again, I just found a few clocks using Google image search. Get the students to then write a sticky note at the top, or just say using the microphone. Practicing ER verb endings. I'm sure this is the same in Italian. You just have the stem, subject pronoun, and the ending. So you'd mix these up, get the students to put them back in the right order. This one, a nice starting activity, get the students to post in an image with their name next to it, and then they have to then describe it. This is using the iOS app, using the auto draw. So get them to drag and drop the images around the screen and get them to talk about the weather. This one's quite nice, again, using the auto draw option. So you could be practicing, for example, prepositions to say the cat is on the table by moving things around. That's really nice. Again, similar to the crossword activity, this is using flippity.net, which, if you don't know, is a really nice way of making interactive activities from a Google Sheet. And in this one, similar to the crossword one, I've just taken a screenshot of the activity, and then they just write in the correct letter in the correct order by using the pen tool. This one, again, I've used emoji.co.uk in order to find 3 images, and then I would ask the students to then come up with a sentence based on the 3 images which are there. So as you can see here, it could be, last weekend I went to the cinema, it was great, afterwards I ate a pizza. Okay, and I really like the quality of the images as well. I think it looks really nice. Okay, this one's called Emoji Translate. So you put in a sentence, you then translate it into Italian, and then what happens is you get the different images coming up with which are Bitmojis, and then you just copy and paste that into Jamboard and get the students to tell you what the whole sentence should be. So a nice and neat way of creating a gap fill using emojis. So I've used Emoji Translate and also the Emoji Keyboard in order to change some words I wanted to, which hadn't been done by the translation option. So that's really, really nice, I think. Another idea, this is just using the image there from Google image search, and I've dragged and dropped a Bitmoji onto the page, and then asked the students to then either say a sentence around that or get them to write a sentence or a couple of sentences on the Jamboard using the post-it note option. This one would be for the students that have got more language. So you can see here, the teacher, this is actually a teacher that wrote this as opposed to me, write an article titled My Area for a competition in a Spanish magazine. And so they're given instructions. So here, these are the students suggesting on how you could structure the text. And you could also put some target language expressions to help them with that as well. So a nice way of getting a collaborative scaffolding activity around writing a short text. Okay, similar to the similar ideas I've shared already. This is an emoji exit ticket. So when the children finish the lesson, they just ring one of the characters to show how they're feeling about their learning. And then you could use that as a starting point for the next lesson. And then if you want to make a forced copy, as it's called, to the Jamboards, then this is how you do it. But what I've actually done is I've done this for you already. So if I go back to my presentation and I click on this one, the link here, then I've actually made, oh, that's not the right one. So, oh no, so that's the next page, sorry, forget that. If I go to the next page, which is, hang on, what am I doing? Hang on, here we are, there we are, next one. Oh, sorry, that's the, okay, never mind. If you go through those instructions, it tells you how you can make a forced copy, as it's called, of a Google Jamboard, which means that when people click on that link, it will automatically require them to make a copy, and that means that you keep the original without it being changed at all. That's right. That was for something else I was going to show you tomorrow, the forced copy issue, but that's it, that in the Jamboard I've just shared with you, it shows how to do it. Okay. So that's Jamboard. Any questions at all about anything that I've mentioned about Jamboard? Hopefully that was an appropriate pace and you've got lots of ideas on how you can use this in languages. Okay, so to carry on then, we're going to have a look at Charlala. I'm just going to show you how this works straight away. So I'm going to come out of my screen and I'm going to go to here and I'm going to go to Charlala. Like that, and I'm going to log in if I'm not logged in already. Right, let me just log in. There we are. Okay. Oh, hang on, doesn't like that. Let's do that again. Hang on. Is it going to work? There we are. Right. Okay. So if I click on Draw Room and I click Start Draw Room, so this is another drawing activity which is interactive, and I'm just going to show you the conversational one. I'm going to turn off music and I'm going to click Start. Okay, so on the screen, can you see that it's asking you to go to charlala.com/draw? So could you all do that for me now, please? And then I'll show you how it works, and then I'll go through some more ideas in a moment. Okay, so you go to charlala.com/draw. It asks for a room code, which, as you can see on the screen, is D7R 5P. So you'll need to create a new tab in order to do this, if you want to still be watching me at the same time. And then you get the drawing option, which comes up, and I'm just going to draw a picture of a heart like that. I have to, this is a classic mistake. I have to click Start in order for this to happen. So I'll just give you a second or two just to finish off coming into the room, and then I'll click Start. And then I click Start. Okay, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to click Start now. So then, as you can see, it says, listen to your teacher for a drawing prompt. So I'm just going to draw a heart on my screen and click Submit, and then Submit again. So I'd like you to draw a picture now to tell me how you're feeling about remote teaching, please. So in other words, this is a really nice way of practicing speaking, whereby there's no preparation at all. I'm just asking you to draw a picture based on my prompt. So I could, for example, be saying, right, tell me what you did last weekend. You then draw a picture of you, for example, playing a guitar or going swimming. I could then say, oh, that's interesting. Tell me a bit more about that, whoever has then come up. So I can see that Carmela has got a question mark. So maybe she's a bit confused about remote teaching. I'm not sure. I can see that I've got next to each picture, I've got the delete option. So if someone were to draw something inappropriate, I could delete that. I've got the star option here. So if I click on that one, then I can add Melissa's picture to the masterpiece board. I can click on Alex's one as well. That's quite a strong metaphor. So you've got a cloud with the sun coming in behind. Interesting. So you can see this is a really nice starting point to, wow, that's lovely, Maria. So I'm going to put Maria on the master board as well. A really nice springboard for discussion that can be done synchronously, ideally, but you could do this asynchronously, but ideally this would be synchronously. Okay, so that's that. I'm now going to click End Drawing. Thank you ever so much for those people that have drawn that picture. And you can see here, I can click on New Round to then just start again. But I'm going to click End Room. And you can see here that all the masterpieces are here, top right. But if I scroll down, I can see that I've got all the images which have been added here as well for everybody. So if I click on the PDF option, what will happen is it allows me to download the images which I wanted to use for, say, the following lesson. I click on Download Storyboard, and that will then create a PDF copy. You can see I can then save that to wherever I want to save it, and that's how that works. So that's Charlala. There's another activity which you can do with this, which you can pre-make questions, but just as a quick and easy option, this is really nice, I think. So I'm just going to go back to my presentation, and in the chat, I'm going to give you a link to how you can sign up for this. So it's charlala.com/Joe. Okay, so by using that link, it will allow you to create an account, and then you can then use that with your students straight away. So there we are. That's how that works, Charlala. And then another key idea I would suggest is if you do a search for MFL Twitterati plus keywords such as speaking or the name of a tool such as Flipgrid, for example, then you'll find lots of examples shared by the community that you can then use straight away, or you can see who the person who's tweeted that example is, and you can then ask them a question. Okay, right, here are some examples. We looked at Padlet before. Here are some examples of how you can use Padlet in the class. I think we looked at Padlet. Anyway, if we didn't look at Padlet before, Padlet is like an online notice board, which allows you to share multimedia very easily. Here are some examples of exam practice using Padlet. So you've got all the links there. I want to show you quickly how you use the audio feature for doing speaking in Padlet. There's a guide here as well, which I'll put in the chat, which is is.gd/audio Padlet, like that. And if you were to go to that link, which I'll do right now, then you'll see what will happen is you get a PDF document going through how to use audio within Padlet, which is very nice. But I'm just going to show you live right now. We go back to present like this. This is a friend of mine, Catherine. I just mentioned that, right. This is a friend of mine, Catherine, who talks about how she's using it particularly for speaking practice. I'm just going to show you live. So Padlet is free for the first 3 Padlets, and then after that you then have to pay. Okay, so you can do everything I'm going to show you using 3 Padlets, and if you have existing Padlets, you can reuse those as well. So this is an example of a Padlet. If I just click on this option here, this will take me live to the Padlet, which I've created for you. And if I click on the share option, I can click copy link, and I can share that in the chat right now with you. So you can set up this using what's called the shelf format, which is you click on the 3 dots here, and it says change format. So these are all the formats that you can use. The one I'm using right now is called the shelf format, SHELF, which allows you to have columns. And then if I click here, teacher questions, I click on the plus icon and put in my name, and click the 3 dots here and click voice. I can record my voice like this. So let's go for it. Okay, so this is an example of using the audio recording feature in Padlet. This is me as the teacher recording a question under a certain theme. Okay, so then I click playback and save. I'll put in the title, click save, and you'll see now that the audio player will appear automatically within Padlet. There we are. Can you see? If I press play now. Okay, so this is an example of using the audio recording feature. So you can hear that. So what Catherine did in the in that little podcast episode, which you can have access to in a moment, in the teacher questions column, she recorded herself saying all the questions, say 10 questions are under a certain theme. And then in all the other columns, she clicked on add column. She named them with the student name. So one column per student. They then listened to all the questions, and then they then recorded their answers there and then she gave them feedback. To give feedback, you click on the cog here, and you enable commenting here. Then as a result of that, you could give feedback, which is moderated. So in other words, you can edit or delete any feedback that someone has given, like that. And then by doing that, the children could then all listen to each other as a scaffold and then improve their speaking. And that proved to be a really effective way of practicing speaking. I appreciate we're getting on with time, but I just want to show you one other little thing, which I'm going to show you live. Again, I would like you to interact with this if that's okay. So this is called QWIQR. I don't know if anyone's heard of QWIQR before. Feel free to let me know in the chat if you've heard of QWIQR. But I'm going to demonstrate this live how this works. You need to create an account as a teacher. What I'm showing you now is completely free. So if I click on create instant feedback like this, I scroll down to the bottom and I click on start a QWIQR conversation like this. Okay, I then go to the audio section and I click record like this. Blah, 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 blah. Then I click stop. It uploads onto the servers, which are based in the EU. So from a GDPR point of view, it's fine. And then I go down to the bottom. I can add in text or a web link if I wanted to. But what I want to point out now is the fact you can moderate conversation. So if I click on here and I click start your QWIQR conversation like that. And then what happens is a link will appear here at the top, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. But before I do that, I'm going to click on the QR code here. So if you have a mobile device, feel free to scan this QR code right now. I'm going to scan it using my iPad. Okay. So I now click on that link. It takes me to a page, and I tap on the microphone option like this. Okay. And then I press record. Blah, 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 blah. This is part 2 of the conversation. So QWIQR conversation is a great way of having a to and fro conversation asynchronously, or you could set it up so that you ask a question and then the student then records a presentation, and then you then give them audio feedback, and then they could then do a new version of the presentation based on your feedback like this. So then I press stop, it uploads it onto the page, and you'll be able to see there, can you see? So if I now click play, blah, blah, this is part 2 of the conversation. So QWIQR conversation, so that's what I've just recorded. I'm going to approve that. And you can see here that someone has left a text message. But if anyone wants to record something very quickly for me to show you everyone how it works on your device, be brave. It should then appear on the screen. So this is a really nice way of having a moderated conversation asynchronously. You can have a free account. The audio is kept there for a couple of months. If you want to download it, you just right-click each one and click Save Audio As to have a permanent copy of it. You'd have to do that for each message. But it's a really nice way of synchronously practicing this. Can someone record a message for me just quickly, just so we can see how it works? I'll just bring up the QR code again. Or I can put the link in. Oh, there we are. Thank you. So if I click play.
I look forward to use this with my U12s.
That's excellent. Thank you. So I click approve, and there it is. So that's really awesome. And then if you want the children to stop posting onto the conversation, you just click the padlock here, and you click lock conversation. That means no one else will be able to add their voice to the conversation, and you can use it as a revision tool once you've done that. I would recommend that you bookmark all the links for this, because at the moment you can add a tag to a recording to then find it, but you don't. Even though you have an account, you don't have access to all the links all in one go. Although I've asked the developer to add that feature. So there we are. If you haven't seen QWIQR conversation before, I think it's fabulous for speaking practice. And let's go back to my slides because I'm just about to finish. There we are. So just as a reminder, if you'd like me to help you in your department, let me know. I'm more than happy to help in that way. And with that in mind, I've actually put together 17 different sessions which I can offer for remote sessions. Feel free to pick and choose the things you particularly like, and then you can then access that in your own time. And then you can then, if you'd like to, invite me to do a webinar for your particular school. And I could do cross-curricular sessions as well as language-specific ones. Okay, and to finish off with, there's the presentation. If you'd like to scan the QR code or put in the link, which I'll just add right now in the chat, is.gd/CO.AS.IT 3, like that. And hopefully you found that was useful. There is, again, quite a lot of information there, but I've tried to focus on a couple of tools, 2 or 3 tools, in order to slow down the pace a little bit, but give you lots of examples of how you can use it specifically in languages. So I hope you found that useful. And if there's anything you're not sure about, send me a message on Twitter or via email. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you've got around that. And then tomorrow, we're going to be looking at some other assessment ideas, which again, I'll be going through a couple of tools, but showing you step by step on how to build them up. So we're going to be looking at Google Forms as well as Socrative. And I'll give you a few tips as well on how you can do summative assessments remotely as well. So without further ado, maybe if we turn on all our webcams, I'll just stop recording, which is here. But thank you ever so much. And then we'll have a quick chat at the end.